Mercy is one of the original 21 characters that were introduced on the release of Overwatch. At the time, there were only 4 support heroes in the game, so your choice was limited, making her one of the most played heroes at the time. Now, with a grand total of 11 supports to choose from and the evolution of the support role in general, Mercy has been made very redundant, only really seeing play in lower ranks and usually placed in lower tiers in people's ranking videos. In this video, we will go through all of Mercy's major balancing changes, and what caused her to become the weakened shell of what she used to be back at the beginning of Overwatch 1.
We are compassion.
Mercy's abilities on her release were a little bit different to what she has now, so let's quickly recap on what her kit looked like. Her healing and damage beams remain very similar to how they function now, although they had different scaling. Her blaster also remains similar to how it was on release, and Guardian Angel functions slightly differently to how it does now, but we'll get to that a bit later. Where the major changes lie is her ultimate. Her current ultimate, Valkyrie, did not exist at all at the time, not even as an ability, and would be introduced in a later patch. Her res actually used to be her ultimate, with the difference being able to revive up to 5 players at once in an instant as long as they were within a certain range. This ability was Mercy's unique function that made her so popular, as you could instantly reset a team fight, potentially with an advantage if you had got a pick or two in the fight you lost. It made you feel like you had to win team fights twice, making it incredibly frustrating to play against an enemy Mercy. While this kit was a staple for Overwatch at the time, the developers decided to make a huge overhaul to her kit, which would change Mercy forever.
We are compassion.
On the 19th of September 2017, Overwatch released patch 1.15.0.2, which would include a huge rework to Mercy. Her res was moved from her ultimate to now be an ability, also being single target, having a smaller radius, and also taking away her invulnerability during the revive as well. Her new ultimate Valkyrie took its place, which allowed her beams to bounce off other allies, gave her increased movement, increased ammo, buffed the gun slightly, and also gave Mercy the ability to fly wherever and however she wanted. While all of this sounds good, it was what Valkyrie did to the resurrection which made it an incredible ability. It would instantly remove the cooldown of the res, no matter what it was on, and also decrease the cooldown of it by a whopping 20 seconds. While the mass res was gone, a good player could still potentially get 3 to 4 reses off her new ultimate. This meant that overall Mercy did not get too much of a change, as players usually opted to do some tempo resing when she had the mass res anyway, only going for revives on 2, 3 or 4 players rather than trying to get the big 5-man reses. These changes were originally seen as a nerf, but once people realised the potential of her new kit, it gave rise to one of the most interesting and scary metas Overwatch has ever seen.
We are compassion.
The moth meta was a dark time for Overwatch, where Mercy had a near 100% pick rate. Her ability to swoop in mid-fights and revive 2 players almost instantly while not being punished herself, while also having all of her stats buffed, was incredibly broken, and made a lot of players quit the game for a while, as it felt worse than when Mercy would just reset a fight. Players now felt like they were killing each hero 2 times due to a Mercy. Changes were made within a month to try and slow down Mercy, but she still remained very powerful. They made it so Mercy only had 2 charges of her res with her ultimate, however, this still kept up the tempo res strategy. While going for reses was also made riskier by not resetting the Guardian Angel cooldown, Mercy was still so powerful and saw her play rate doubled at this time in ranked. The biggest attempt to change Mercy came in patch 1.17.2, where they added a long cast time to the res to try and make Mercy easier to kill. These were good changes in concept, but a good Mercy player could still get very easy reses as long as they played at the correct angles. They still kept the no cast time in the ultimate, which was where the bulk of her reses were occurring anyway, so these changes didn't shift the moth meta. However, on the 30th of January 2018, the fall of Mercy and the moth meta would begin to snowball.
We are compassion.
Within one patch, the Mercy moth meta began to completely crumble down, as her resurrect was limited strictly to 1 res per 30 seconds, and Valkyrie was also nerfed to make it not instant. Gone were the days of Mercy being able to instantly bring back 2 to 3 teammates, and the days where she could move at incredible speeds during her ultimate to avoid all her counters. She had become a shell of what she had just been a couple months prior. She still had decent movement, but nothing compared to what she was before. For the next 3 to 4 years, we wouldn't see many changes to Mercy, just some tweaking to her healing numbers, and then some quality of life changes which were genuinely helpful, but nothing brought her back to where she was before. The only Mercy players left were those who were really dedicated to playing her. Her next big changes would come with the release of Overwatch 2. Strangely enough, the main changes to Mercy in the Overwatch 2 release were actually for her Guardian Angel ability, which had remained generally untouched from the release apart from a few tweaks here and there, mainly bug fixes or quality of life changes. They now introduced a new meter that would increase the further she flew and then would allow you to launch yourself further off the Guardian Angel. This was met with a bit of outrage from the dedicated Mercy community, as Guardian Angel had a lot of techs involved with it during Overwatch 1 that would take ages to master, and now a new player could do them instantly due to this new change. Overall though, this change was a positive for Mercy. During December there were mostly noticeable tweaks to her gun and swapping weapons, and things were looking up for her. A high mobility healer that could increase the output of DPS in the current meta was working, but Blizzard were about to change Mercy in a way that caused outcry from all the Mercy mains.
We are compassion.
The main issue players were having with Mercy at the time was that she could pocket a DPS and get some one-shots if they were playing a high burst damage hero. Ashe was the biggest offender at the time, being able to one-shot any 200 HP heroes with a Mercy damage boost, which was the vast majority of the DPS and support role at the time. So, to rectify this and change the Mercy gameplay, they focused more on nerfing her healing to force her out of using her damage beam. They also made it harder for her to move around quickly, making her Guardian Angel much worse by adding a whole 1 second to the cooldown, which may seem little, but you're constantly using the ability as her main method of movement, so the effect was really felt. They also made it so she gains 50% more heals when healing someone under half HP, allowing her to get more player saves by swooping in at the last moments to help out. This was at the cost of decreasing her healing by a whopping 10 per second, which was really also felt. Overall though, her healing output and Guardian Angel had been hit hard. However, it did come with a very handy new passive that she gets healing whenever she heals, which would make her practically invulnerable during her ultimate due to her being able to heal the whole team at once, while also keeping the passive support healing. These changes, however, caused so much outcry that Blizzard were forced to revert some of these changes in the next patch. Her Guardian Angel returned to how it was before, and her healing staff no longer did extra for under 50 HP targets and just went back to a flat 55 HP per second. At this point it feels like Blizzard was beginning to give up on changing Mercy, as anything they do causes another issue in another part of her kit. If it's not her res, it's her damage boost. If it's not her damage boost, it's her healing. If it's not her healing, it's her survivability. Mercy is incredibly hard to make a perfect hero, and has either always been incredibly broken or incredibly underpowered, and Blizzard are yet to find a middle ground. After this patch, not too much has changed for Mercy other than scaling with the major changes to the game. Her damage boost got nerfed once again from 30% down to 25%. She then got an extra 50 HP with the rest of the support class. To go with this, she got an extra 15% to her sympathetic recovery, for a total of 40%. To compensate for this, and the changes to the DPS passive, which took a massive toll on Mercy as she revolves around her healing and damage boost. With other characters in the support class being able to do so much, especially since the release of Overwatch 2, such as Kiriko, Baptiste, Ana and Zenyatta, Mercy has completely fallen into irrelevancy and now sits at the bottom of most people's support ranking. It's unlikely we will ever see Mercy in high level play anytime soon, despite the small number tweaking she has received lately. So, to conclude this video, why did Mercy fall into irrelevance so quickly? A years long string of nerfs to the character caused her to fall down the ladder, and she never got to recover before the release of Overwatch 2. Now with one tank, the supports need to be doing more damage, and Mercy cannot do as much as the other supports. She lacks burst healing, which is so important in the current meta of Overwatch, and damage boosting requires other DPS heroes to be doing your job for you, when really you should be the one doing damage as the support now. For now, Mercy will remain one of the worst supports, with a huge fanbase waiting for something to change.